Martin Bassett in Wiltshire took on her bank, HSBC, what happened next was a classic David and Goliath struggle.
Well, I started having money problems shortly before 2007 because I'd been in and out of work and I had a fluctuating income.
At this point, Josie says she went overdrawn on her current account, and because it was unauthorised borrowing, she began to incur charges of up to £25 for each transaction, and a vicious circle began.
There's great pressure on because you're trying to earn enough money, to keep going and just pay your essential bills. And it's very difficult because I'm not on a big wage. The bills come in. If you miss a payment, then you've got all the letters coming in as well. You end up going round and round in circles.
Josie's original overdraft of a couple of £100 grew bigger and bigger as HSBC added on more and more charges.
Half the time you wouldn't know what bank charges you were paying. The bank is supposed to issue a defined list of fees and bank charges. I never ever received that. In the end, the bank charges themselves were keeping me overdrawn, and then the bank was charging fees and interest on top of their own bank charges. And that's where we're escalating. That's where we got to a point you could never keep up with the bank charges.
By 2008, Josie was overdrawn by around £2,000, and the vast majority of it wasn't even money that she'd spent. It was bank charges. Josie felt so angry about that she took it up with HSBC. But even so, while she was discussing it with them, the bank was calling her up almost every day, chasing the debt.
In a matter of a few months, I had 150 phone calls, as many as 26 within 2 or 3 days. They were asking me for money. They were totally focused on the overdraft and trying to extract money from me. And there were several phone calls. They were threatening, they were intimidating. They were saying, "Miss Lewis, you owe us money. When are you going to pay us the money? These phone calls won't stop unless you pay us the money."
Unable to resolve the dispute with the bank by phone or letter, Josie decided to go into the branch where her account was held.
Well, I went to the bank first thing in the morning thinking I could meet with the bank manager, talk things through on a one-to-one basis, and, that would help me enormously. But that's not how things went.
Instead, Josie ended up having a confrontation with the bank manager. And that was the point when she decided she wanted to try and end her relationship with HSBC.
I wrote to the bank. I said I want my account frozen from this day forward. No transactions are allowed to go out of that account, and you will take no direct debits and no standing orders.
Josie knew that she was within her rights to freeze her HSBC account. She'd read up on banking rules, so thought that she'd found the answer to stopping the charges escalating further. But it didn't work. Though she'd been paying off her debt from another account, HSBC continued taking money from the frozen account and adding on yet more charges.
When I discovered they continued taking money out of my account right up until March 2009, I was absolutely livid.
She complained, and HSBC refunded the money that they'd taken since the account was frozen. But by then, Josie was so incensed, she took her fight a stage further.
In 2010, I took the bank to court on the grounds of harassment for a disputed debt and the lack of duty of care in handling my account.
And she won. In June of this year, the judge ordered HSBC to pay Josie £2,070 compensation, £570 for poor management of her account, plus £1,500 for the harassing phone calls and the confrontation at her branch. The judge also ruled, though, that she did still owe the bank more than £5,500 for legitimate charges and interest.